The Red Badge of Courage, Chapter 13. Henry has just been directed by an unnamed friend who helped him out to his regiment. Now he's going back to his regiment. He's not really with it. He's been clubbed in the head by a fleeing Union soldier. He's sort of concussed and bleeding all over himself, and he doesn't seem to really know what's going on. He's just sort of been wandering around almost as if he's in a dream. So we'll keep going here. The youth went slowly toward the fire indicated by his departed friend. As he went, he thought of the welcome his former companions would give him. He was sure they would laugh at him. He had no strength to invent a tale. It would be an easy victory for them. He wanted to go into the darkness and hide, but his ills forced him to seek a place of food and rest at whatever cost. He swung unsteadily toward the fire. He could see the forms of men making black shadows in the red light. As he went nearer, he saw that the ground was covered with sleeping men. Suddenly he met a black figure aiming a rifle. "Stop there!" He was surprised for a moment, but he thought that he recognized the voice. Nervous now, of the loud soldier. You guys remember the loud soldier? Maybe you don't. There were three named characters at the beginning of the story. Henry, who was our main character, and then the tall soldier, who we later found out was Jim Conklin. There was also a loud soldier who was always arguing with Jim. We never knew his name, so we're gonna meet him now and learn his name. Stop there. He was surprised for a moment, but he thought he recognized the voice. Nervous now, of the loud soldier. As he stood trembling before the rifle, he called out, "Hello, Wilson? You here?" The rifle was lowered to a careful position, and the soldier came slowly forward. He looked into the youth's face. "Is that you, Henry?" "Yes, it's me." Well, old boy," said the other. "Well, I'm glad to see you. I thought you were dead." There was real emotion in his voice. The youth found that now he could hardly stand upon his feet. There was a sudden sinking of his strength. He felt he must hurry with his tail to protect himself. So before the soldier said anything more, he began. Yes, I've had an awful time. I've been all over. Far on the right. Awful fighting over there. I had a frightful time. I got separated from the regiment. Over on the right, I got shot in the head. I never saw much fighting. Awful time. I don't see how I got separated from the regiment. I got shot, too. Very gibberish sort of a tale. And clearly lying. He got clubbed in the head by somebody from his own army, but he's claiming that he got shot. His friend stepped forward quickly. "What? Got shot? Why didn't you say so first? Poor fellow, we must. Wait a minute. I'll call Simpson." At that moment, another soldier appeared. "Who are you talking to, Wilson?" he demanded. His voice was angry. "Who are you talking to? Oh, hello, Henry. Are you here? Well, I thought you were dead 4 hours ago. Great heavens, they keep coming in every 10 minutes. We thought we'd lost 42 men, but if they keep coming this way, we'll have the whole regiment back by morning. Where were you?" "Over on the right, I got separated," began the youth, but his friend had interrupted. "Yes, he got shot in the head, and we must help him right away." He rested his rifle on his left arm and put his right around the youth's shoulder. "It must hurt bad," he said. The youth leaned heavily upon his friend. "Yeah, it hurts a lot," he replied. There was a shaking in his voice. "Oh," said the second soldier. He put his arm around the youth and led him forward. "Come on, Henry, I'll take care of you." As they went together, Wilson called out after them, "Put him to sleep in my blanket, Simpson. And wait, here's my canteen. It's full of coffee. Look at his head by the fire and see how it is. Maybe it's a bad wound. When someone else comes to guard duty, I'll be over to see to him." The youth's senses were so deadened that his friend's voice sounded from afar, and he could hardly feel the support of Simpson's arm. His head was hanging forward upon his breast. His knees shook. Simpson led him to the light of the fire. "Now, Henry," he said, "let's have a look at your head." The youth obeyed and sat down, and the other, laying aside his rifle, began to look into the bushy hair of his companion. He had to turn the youth's head so that the full glow of the firelight would shine on it. He whistled through his teeth when his fingers found the blood and the unusual wound. "Ah, here we are," he said anxiously, searching further. "Just as I thought," he added after a while. "You've been bruised by a bullet. It raised a queer swelling, as if some fellow had hit you on the head with a club." The blood stopped flowing a long time ago. The worst about it is that in the morning you'll feel as if the world's biggest hat wouldn't fit you. And you may get a lot of other sickness too by morning. Still, I don't think so. Just a bad hit in the head and nothing more. Now, you just sit here and don't move. I'll send Wilson to take care of you." Simpson went away. The youth remained on the ground. He stared with an empty look into the fire. Within the glow of red and orange light from the burning sticks were other soldiers breathing heavily or lying in death-like sleep. A few pairs of legs were spread out stiff and straight. The shoes displayed mud or dust of marches. The youth sat in a sorrowful position until his friend Wilson came carrying 2 canteens. "Well, now, Henry, we'll have you fixed up in just about a minute." He had the busy manner of a new nurse. He moved around the fire and stirred the sticks. He made his patient drink from a canteen that contained the coffee. It was, to the youth, a delightful drink. He put his head far back and held the canteen long to his lips. The cool liquid went smoothly down his hot throat. Having finished, he sighed with comfortable delight. Wilson watched his companion with a look of satisfaction. He later produced a huge handkerchief from his pocket. He folded it and poured water from the other canteen onto it. This he bound over the youth's head, tying the ends into a queer arrangement at the back of the neck. "There," he said, moving off and studying his deed. "You look like the devil, but I guess you feel better." The youth looked at his friend with grateful eyes. Upon his paining and swelling head, the cold cloth was like a tender woman's hand. That's a simile as well. "You don't scream or say anything," remarked his friend admiringly. "You're a good one, Henry. Most men would have been in the hospital long ago. A shot in the head is no joking matter." The youth made no reply, but began to play with the buttons of his jacket. "Well, come now," continued his friend. "Come now. I must put you to bed and see that you get a good night's sleep." The other stood carefully, and the young soldier led him among the sleeping forms lying in groups and rows. Finally, Wilson bent and picked up his blankets. He spread the rubber one on the ground and placed the woolen one about the youth's shoulders. "There now," he said, "lie down and get some sleep." The youth, obeying quietly, got carefully down. He stretched out with a murmur of relief and comfort. The ground felt like the softest bed. But suddenly he said, "Wait a minute. Where are you going to sleep?" His friend waved his hand impatiently. "Right down there next to you." "Well, but wait," continued the youth. "What are you going to sleep on? I've got your..." The young soldier answered. It's interesting that he's been characterized instead of the loud soldier now as the young soldier. "Be quiet and go to sleep. Don't be making a fool of yourself," he said firmly. After this, the youth said no more. A wonderful sleepiness had spread through him. The warm comfort of the blanket surrounded him. His head fell forward in his arm, and his eyes slowly closed. Hearing the guns from the distance, he wondered, not really caring, if those men sometimes slept. He gave a long sigh, curled into his blanket, and in a moment, he was like his companions. So, Henry has returned to his regiment. He spun them a tale about how he got shot in the head. They've all bought it, and now they're sort of treating him like a hero, like the hero he wishes he was, even though, this is where the irony comes in. Like, he ran away from battle, and then another guy who was running away from battle, clubbed him in the head with a rifle. But this wound to his head, which was bleeding, has become his red badge of courage. It shows to all the other soldiers in his regiment that he's a guy who fought in battle and took an injury for the Union Army, and he's been accepted back because of it. That's interesting because that's not at all what happened. And again, maybe Crane is calling into question the stories we tell about warfare and how true they are, and the things that we believe. Here's Henry who, if he lives through this battle and goes home, is going to be treated like a hero. And look at his actions over the past day. He ran away. He joined a wounded column. He watched his friend die. He abandoned another guy who died. And then he got clubbed by another retreating soldier. It's an interesting thing. And this is where the idea that this may be the first anti-war novel really sort of starts coming up. What is Crane saying about warfare? What is he saying about all the glorious tales of combat and battle through this story of this character? A lot of times, and I think I've mentioned this before, but it's worth bringing up and thinking about again. A lot of times the stories that you get of battle are... Whoa, it just suddenly got dark. All right, let's try that. The stories you get of battle are told about generals, are told about important figures. And this is a story of just Henry Fleming, a private in the Union Army, the lowest of the low, and his individual experience in the war. So it's a very different view, and he's not a hero, and he's starting to be treated like one. So let's see what happens in chapter 14.